Alrighty. Hello, everybody. I'm your boss, Joe Boss. Welcome to a very special stream. This stream is covering the release of a PineScript library I've been working on for quite some time now. I've been utilizing a lot of this code in many of my indicators, and I realized that this project is especially useful to be created and turned into a library for PineScripters, other PineScripters. Because this specific chunk of code that we're about to go over and why I made the library is used in most indicators, most programmers on TradingView who work with arrays and work with matrices do use some form of this little block of code. And I see this being incredibly helpful for a lot of people. There were, I can't remember the guy's name right off the top of my head, but there were other attempts, and there was one attempt by a Pine Wizard, but I'll show. I think my implementation is very robust, and it's also so easy to use. I really look forward to building my own indicators with this shortly, but I wanted to make sure I did some kind of video kind of covering what exactly the RollingWindow library is and generally how to use it. And I know I have very good documentation on the front page of it. You can actually see, if I now go to the screen capture, and it seems like the screen capture is capturing the wrong video. This is a live thing, so, give me a sec here. There we go. Okay. Now you'll be able to see. So this is the page on TradingView for the library RollingWindow. And you'll see a handful of examples here and some of the major features that are here in this initial release, as well as all the documentation going through, okay, here's the overview. Here's generally the block of code that most people are writing right here, where you have an array, you give it a size. Let's say you want this array to have 10 closing data points, the last 10 closing data points in it. And so you say, okay, I'm going to make the array, and then I'm going to push close values into it. And then once the array is past a certain size, let's go ahead and shift or pop or whatever it is. We just remove the oldest value to make room for the new value. And instead of doing this, we can now just call roll. You set a size for your array. What value do you want to roll into the array? And just call roll. It's very straightforward. All you have to do is import the array, and we can, start to go down exactly, okay, here's how it works. But literally, it's very step-by-step, these instructions. What I wanted to talk about was a little bit of the background. Some of the things that aren't on the public page, because likely you've found this video, and now that you've seen the public page, you can go to it. But I'm going to give a little bit more background. This library started off as a side thing back in 2024. So this is almost it's a little older than 2 years old now. And I have a lot of versions. This is the 2577th save of this project. So I've been meticulously updating and changing, and like, this thing could be easier. That parameter isn't necessary. This is probably a smarter way to build that. Oh, there's this error. Oh, there's this new PineScript feature. So over the last 2 years, I've been updating in the background for myself. and for my own scripts. And I'm releasing it publicly for everyone today. So I'm going to go through some actual examples here of how to use the library. So then there's just a point of reference. And kind of as an FYI, this code here is not copy and pasted from here. These aren't the exact same examples. Literally, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go live and release this thing finally after a little more than 2 years of working on it. I need to have code to show off. And then off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, I need to do this one. I need to write this code. I need to write this code. And then you can see I have log infos here for a lot of this stuff so we can show off all the different features. Now, I am going to comment out this code so we can kind of go at things one at a time. And you should be able to see right here the pine log. So this pine log is taking this string right here, which is getting this variable here called close array. And we can even full screen this to get a little bit more screen real estate here. But yeah, this actually looks a little different though from the example, doesn't it? Because this thing isn't sized. So of course, first off, we're importing the library, right? This is a random indicator with a tutorial on it. But we're just calling an array. We're creating an array, an empty array with bar persistence. This doesn't work if you don't at least do bar or intra-bar persistent arrays. And then you call rolling windows. You call roll on the close array with close. And then there's this 5 here. Now I know in the, the description of the library, it's like size, you'd put 5 here usually. And then, source, that's actually the same way of writing this, except that's now what you would call an initialized array. Now it starts with an initial size of 5. And if we go all the way back into the pine log, you can actually see it starts. Actually, we can probably go and use a daily chart and go all the way back. And you can see it has NA, 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 and then these values. Well, those NAs are the empty initialized values here. And then you can see as source is called, it rolls a value in. And then on the next bar, it rolls another value in. And then on the next bar, it rolls another value in, another value in. And then now you have 5 values that are rolled in and no more NAs. Whereas if you did it like this is actually the size parameter here. And this behaves a little differently. This is what you'd call a dynamic array. So that's a fixed size array. Now you have a dynamic array where instead of it starting with those NA values, now it starts completely empty. And you're just rolling values into it. And this can especially be beneficial if you want to make sure, if you have a function or a calculation that you're doing that won't work with NA values in it. So that's nice. That's a nice way to start off. Now, the other thing I've been stressing is this intra-bar stuff. Well, that's just this varip keyword here. That means that on real-time bars, this will recalculate. So if we scroll all the way to the bottom here, and I am kind of in the way, so I'm going to scroll this a little bit more to the right. You'll be able to see how it's actually updating with the latest price into the array, and it's updating the array in real time. So it's getting every real-time bar update, storing it into the array for the last 5 values, and then kicking them out. And you can use the initialized, you can initialize the array with a certain number of values, or you can put 5 here and or however much you want to put in there. This will work up to the array limit. So the current array limit is 100,000 elements. So if you put in 100,000, this will work. But once you start going past that, you actually are going to get a runtime error. So you put, you go ahead and put a 1 there, and now it's giving you this like, hey, the size here must not be less than 0 or greater than 100,000. Is that 2, 3? Yeah, I'm like, oh, I probably should have put a comma there to make it a little more legible, but what's done is done. So there is size checking in here, which is very nice. And again, this, if you wanted to see what it will look like if you don't actually have a var or varip keyword there, it's just going to only print out a single value the entire time, because it's just going to be constantly forgetting the history. It's not, this array isn't going to store anything between one bar to the next or intrabar. So it's important to use a keyword when doing this sort of stuff. All right, and the next one is, yeah, we just did that example. This was supposed to be an example on bar initializing the array of a certain size and then rolling values into it. We kind of jumped to that one. And then they have this one. This is nice. This is actually a reverse array. You can actually do roll reverse and get the same elements in the opposite order. So let me go ahead and actually undo this, so then we can compare it to like the normal order, right? And we can copy this, move down here, paste, get that, get that, get that. And now we should have, here's our close array, and we can make this a warning just so it pops up, not as an actual warning, but so we can have a visual comparison, right? So this is the close array, and then this is the reverse array. Both of these are var, and they're both loading close data, and they're both of size 5. But if you see, this says $75,722.16. And then over here in the reverse array, it says over here at the other end of the index. So this is what the roll reverse is doing. It's just putting the elements and rolling elements out of the array in reverse order. So instead of new elements being rolled in over here at the end, I believe, yeah, you're rolling in elements at the very beginning. And some people want their indexing and their arrays to be a certain way. So I made sure to incorporate this just as a whole separate function. And then that keeps this function pretty fast and this function pretty fast, just to have unique implementations for both. Okay. Now we are doing ascending array, right? So in a lot of algorithms, you need data sorted in ascending or descending order. And when you are dealing with this structure that we were talking about, this one here, where not only do you have to put elements into an index, but now you also have to sort them. Well, now you're also calling the .sort, the array.sort option, the built-in function, and that sorts all of the values in an array every time you call it. This roll ascending, and there's a roll descending, by the way, for var and varep, for bar and interbar persistence. These ascending and descending rolling window array functions are actually using binary insertion sort. So when you get a new value, when you get a new close, it will do a binary search to find the index to insert into the array. And it keeps a copy of the original array. So that then when a new bar prints, it knows out of the entire ordered array which one to take out because it's first in, first out. It takes out the last value that's been in there the longest. And we can just save it, and we can do log warning again, just so then it pops up. And there you go. So here is the unsorted data, and here is the sorted data. And you can see we have 73, 75, 75. Well, this is 75.7, 75.8, 76.3, 78.2,000, right? So these are in ascending order, and then you can flip these around for descending as well. And that's what this one here, I believe, is. Yeah, it's descending, but it's not using the correct function. That needs to be descending, and then there's the autofill var ip. So this is for the intra-bar persistent one. So this now, if you go all the way to the latest values, you can now also get things sorted really, really quickly in descending order. And we can keep up our habit of making sure things are highlighted in the Pine log here. Yeah, that seems to be working. And it's putting things in descending order. Now, when you are using varip, it gives you a new element every single bar update. So if you have, in this case, an array size of 5, right? Because we put 5 here for our descending array. If there's been 5 updates on the bar, on the chart, and they're all the exact same value, they're all going to be the exact same value here in this array. But that's to be expected because these are storing intra-bar updates. That's just how that works. But the important part is you're getting your array in descending order, which is very, very good when you need to do 1 or 2 particular algorithms that require that. Now here's the chunky bit. I went ahead and expanded this to matrices because I actually found when you're dealing with a lot of features, matrices in PineScript can actually be quite helpful. It's just sometimes they can be a bit unwieldy. So here's our close array, and we are filling it with a bunch of values with our rolling window function here. And here we are going to create a rolling window matrix out of that array. And we have this new parameter here. So instead of up here where this says size equals 5, there's no size parameter here when we use a matrix. The method actually updates on the back end and says, okay, instead of using an array, we're using a matrix. So now instead of looking at individual elements, we are rolling arrays into the rows of a matrix. So how many rows do we need? Well, here we've just specified 3 rows. And we can actually see what that matrix looks like. And you can see it's like it's keeping a history. And again, I'll do the warning thing so then we can more clearly see it pop out at us. So this is the matrix one. And then this is the close array. So let's look at it a little bit more closely. Here are the elements that are currently in the close array. And then if you look at the very first row of the matrix that's being generated from this, it has the exact same elements in the very first row as the matrix. This is row wise. Now, here's another thing. If you look back, so this is let's say this is the current bar. If you go back one more bar and you look at the array that's generated here on this bar, that's actually the same value as the elements in this row. So it's keeping a history of the arrays. So you always could use the historical referencing operator on arrays. But if you wanted to keep the data of the arrays somewhere and you wanted to, let's say, compare the change in some algorithm of an array over time, this is one way that can be done. There's some useful autocorrelation stuff that can be built with this type of setup. Now, what's also nice is this can be used with local scopes. So you can actually give conditions for these functions. Like, okay, if the current value is NA, don't push it at all. If it's not a bullish candle, don't push it. And those examples are actually here. Way down here. And I've actually put them in the example here. We can actually do this. Here's an example I made very quickly. And what this does is it creates an array with a type of string. And it then calculates the 50 moving average, simple moving average, and the 200 simple moving average. Say, okay, if there's a golden cross where the 50 crosses the 200, if a golden cross occurs, I want to roll the current golden cross time into the array and store it. And the array is initialized with a size of 3. So it's only going to store and roll up to the last 3 times that we had a golden cross. And then there's our little log. We can make that a warning, just so then it pops out. And then we have these 2 plots here, so then we can actually double check stuff. Now, let's go to like a 30-second chart, so then it's a little easier to find. So we have a golden cross right around here. We can scroll down. And these are our 3 golden cross values, our last 3 golden crosses. So this was, what is it, 349, 350, and 351. So there's 350, 351, and 4930. So there was some chop going on around here, and this thing was crossing a couple of times. So there were 3 crosses right here. But this, there you go. Those are your last 3 times you had some golden crosses right there. Again, it's a 30-second time frame. You could probably do something cool if we went to a daily time frame and used Alt-G, which allows you to go to a custom date. My bad. Accidentally grabbed the wrong thing. Let's see here. This was, the latest one is 2025, 11/16. There you go. 2025, 11/16. There's your last golden cross right there. Now, you could easily just push this into an array and then do the whole check if the size of the array is greater than 3. This is so much faster than having to set up all this extra code right here for these conditions. And not only that, but now there are new types in PineScript, like the footprint. And the footprint is actually around here. Yeah, you can even see the footprint right here. And usually you have to do this not NA footprint. You have to check if these footprints actually have data in them. And then you can safely do this little roll and then put all the valid footprints into an array and not have to think about in the rest of your script whether or not you're actually using a valid footprint or not. You can just do your footprint check, put it into an array, and then use whatever objects you want out of the footprint in the rest of the script without having NA checks in every single part of your script to check if the footprint's good or not. So that's nice. Let's see. Is there anything else I may be missing? Because we have ascending and descending, var, varep. Oh yeah, you can actually, when you are rolling elements out of the array, you actually can get the last removed element returned to you. So we can go ahead and do that real quick. So over here, this roll, we can actually do this, float removed element. And so this roll will still operate exactly as it has been, but now it's also generating an extra bit of information where we could do this, and you could say moved element, and that needs to be a 1. And now it should also say, hey, there's your removed element. Probably want a space and a colon there so it's easy to see. And now we can check if we can actually also hide this. We don't need that in the code anymore. Oh, that's right. We don't need those drawings anymore either, because when you want to comment that code, you have to remove those drawings. Okay. But now this tells you, hey, when you get a new bar update, what was the element that was removed out of the array? So if you need that information, there you go. It's provided. Not all functions, not all types are going to be able to support that, especially for this next bit here. So that's how you get the element that actually is removed out without doing anything super crazy invasive. The other, really useful thing that I'm very, very happy about with this library is this. So let's see here. That's initialized array. So we have to uncomment that bit of the code. And that was a comment. Oh, I'm pretty sure what I'm trying to find is the spot with the lines. Oh, there it is. Just hiding in the sea of gray. It's just all hiding in the sea of gray. Okay. So now what I've done is load up drawings into this. So over here, all I did was, we actually don't need the pine logs anymore. This is pretty much the end after this. We have an array of lines that we're initializing that's empty. And then I create 2 chart points. One, this essentially could just be now. It doesn't even have to be that. So the current chart point and a new chart point with data from like 5 bars ago. And then we create a new line that is initialized with both of the chart points here. And then we just roll this line that's generated into the array. And how many lines do we want? Do we want 100 lines? And just like that, 100 lines. But maybe we want to stick with 3 so we can just kind of count how many lines there are. And now, instead of doing a bunch of crazy checks and if conditions and check like, oh, how many lines do I need to manage? This makes just data managing and deleting the lines so much easier. Now, there are a lot of situations where you probably want to use the set parameters instead, the set functions for drawings. And in that case, this would not be the right approach, especially if like you just need to update the price or you need to update a couple of things. But if you want to use roll and set, you can still do that. You just need to query this array and say like, hey, get me these lines. Let's say you're putting the price of the line on each line. There's a function where you can do a line dot, get x1, x2, x1, and then set x1, x2, right? So it's not that you can't go into the array and play with the line and change it up a bit, or get data out of drawings in there. It's just you need to know what the index of that line is. And that's where I'm like, well, maybe you want to go with a different path if you're going to be redrawing really, really, really old drawings. If you're going to be redrawing them or changing their lines, this might not be the right way. This is like, oh, I have a consistent line here and I'm constantly drawing it and I'm just making new ones and I want to delete the old ones. I know I'll probably be using this for my pivot point indicators because pivot points really do fit this. And also, one thing to keep in mind, this last drawing right here, this one is going to be updating in real time. See how it redraws itself? I mean, we can go to a 30-second here. And you can see how it's updating itself, how it's drawing this latest third line. You can probably fix that with a simple if, bar state dot is confirmed. But now I see there's 4 lines, so I wasn't expecting that. Bar state is confirmed. Probably, and bar state dot is real time. Let's see here. Let's draw it. Well, those drawings do delete, but I'm not sure why they're not deleting at the moment. Maybe I'll need to issue a little bug fix. We'll see. But yeah, that is too weird. Maybe I'm just not setting the conditions correctly. I mean, there's 2 lines right there. It's updating. And then we can wait 10 seconds to see if it draws through. Because it should just delete the oldest line. And yes, it did work exactly as expected. So I'm doing something wrong with the condition here. Because it's 9:35 and I'm ready to end my day. I was like, I got to make sure I get everything done today because I'm like just ready to get this out. So yeah, I just didn't do something right with the condition is all. Nothing coming to the top of my head on that front. But, if you gave me, another 5 or 10 minutes, I could probably figure out exactly like, here's the exact thing. I'm like, well, it's working. It's working. And it's not hard to set up the conditions. Oh, you know what it probably is? It keeps drawing new lines here. So you have to do if bar state dot is confirmed here. Yeah, there you go. That's what I wanted. I just sometimes it's the one little thing. Yep, there you go. So this line was being executed in the global scope on every new bar, but it needed to also be in this condition and then rolled also when the condition is met. There you go. There you go. And that's nice because now if you don't want a line drawing in real time, but you want the last two lines to be drawn, now there you go. You have a way of handling that. And it's so straightforward. It's so nice. So nice. So I'm very, very happy to finally have this done. And I look forward to building some new indicators, some new work with this. And hopefully this was a nice little tutorial. I don't know if I'll share this code or not, but you know, I have a GitHub. I'll probably post it as like a miscellaneous thing. But yeah, if you got any questions about it, especially if you are a developer and you are considering to use this library, please know that the library is MIT. You can technically just take the code and put it into your invite-only private scripts. But if you do, just give me a heads up. And if you need something, or you need some help, or you just want to double check something, I'm currently maintaining this. So you can always reach out if you're a PineScript developer and you're interested in using this library to make your life a little easier. Just come send me a message on TradingView. That'll be the easiest way to reach out to me. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching the tutorial and the launch live stream, because I just released it. Not that, you know, I think like 40 minutes ago, just when I started the stream. So it was kind of nice to go through everything, and it still took 40 minutes to go through pretty much everything. There's maybe a handful of things I could have covered that were extra, but that's why I wanted to make sure I start off with saying, hey, read the documentation. It's very thorough. If you have issues, you can reach out to me on TradingView or in my Discord if you're so inclined. But other than that, hopefully this video is enough for you guys. And again, there are runtime errors. They are quite well explained. We went over this one earlier in the video. Actually, no, this one's for matrices. So again, if you want to know more about these runtime errors, they do not necessarily a super big PineScript mega wizard, right? You can always chat with me, and even if you are a wizard, definitely would appreciate it. I gotta get the name of that guy. I totally forgot about it because I've been working on this thing for a while, as I clearly demonstrated. So I'm like, oh, what was the name of that guy who had something similar? What he wasn't necessarily working on a rolling window library. This is very generalized. He was working on binary insertion sort for arrays. And I had already been using binary insertion sort for my stuff in my private scripts. And then as I was looking around, when they had all the libraries, I'm like, oh, this guy's also using binary insertion sort. That's so cool. Wish I could remember his name. But yeah. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you for watching. And if you use the library, let me know. Definitely would like to see how people are using the work outside of what I'm going to end up doing with it. I'm very happy that it's done. I'm ready to start working on some stuff. Alrighty, guys. I will see you all in a bit. Fuck yeah.